Alright, so I want y'all to watch this shit with me. I mean, there is only like a couple parts I wanted y'all to see, but we just gonna watch the whole thing together, because they be saying some shit in this motherfucking video. But the video is called How the Government Turns American Indians into Freeloaders. And let's get into it.
No group in America has been helped more by government than American Indians. And yet, some politicians still tell Indians things like this.
Few have been ignored by Washington for as long as Native Americans.
Ignored? Are you kidding me? Look at the signs around this Sioux reservation in South Dakota. Our government has made Indian tribes wards of our state. Government manages their land, provides their health care, their schools, gives them food stamps, pays for housing, child care, even burial assistance. The result?
There is a stunning poverty here. Only 1 in 4 has a job. There is a scarcity of phones, not even any banks.
Indians have the highest poverty rate and lowest life expectancy of any group in America. So the Sioux told us they need more handouts.
The government should be giving the Indian people more appropriations so that we could exist out here still.
I really feel Obama's administration needs to get up to the plate and deal with it.
Because white people stole the Indians' land hundreds of years ago, the government signed treaties. And that's why Washington sends billions of dollars to Indian tribes every year.
Everybody thinks the government owes them something.
It's odd in that no group has been more helped by government than the American Indians, and no group does worse.
Maybe it's the government.
Ben Chavis is a member of a tribe that doesn't get special
You hear that? He said maybe it's the government. That's some real shit. It is the fucking government pulling motherfuckers down.
government help. And yet, the area where you live looks different from Indian reservations.
There's mansions. They look like English manors. I can take you to one neighborhood where my people are from and show you nicer homes than the whole Sioux reservation.
And this is not casino.
You hear that? He could take you to a neighborhood where he from in his, Indian territory. And he's saying his shit look better than a whole motherfucking reservation that these federally recognized tribes have. And that's because they're not taking care of their people.
No money, no special deal for your tribe.
Oh, no. In my tribe, we don't have any casinos. We have 12 banks.
Chavis says his tribe does well because the federal government does not recognize them as a sovereign tribe, though their congressman wants to change that.
It's time for discrimination to end and recognition to begin.
Old Mike knows if he wants to stay in Washington, D.C., he has to support the Lumbees or he won't be there.
This is an injustice that, yes, must finally be resolved.
If the congressman gets his way, your tribe would just get $80 million. It's tough to say no to that.
If you want to become dependent on the government and sell your soul for $80 million, I understand that. And some people are...
You hear that? Sell your soul for $80 million. So that's what these federally recognized tribes is doing. They're selling their souls. And they're not really helping their people with the money that they're getting. It's sad.
willing to do that.
Indian activists like lawyer Elizabeth Homer say the Lumbees ought to get federal recognition. Homer used to be the U.S. Interior Department's Director of American Indian Trusts.
Lumbees have been neglected and left out of the system and have been petitioning for 100 years for their recognition, for which they're entitled, by the way.
They're petitioning because socialists like you have convinced them to do that.
Socialist
but
now.
They
well,
do
if
better
I'm a socialist,
without the government.
If I'm a socialist, what does that make you?
It makes me and Ben Chavis capitalists. And capitalist Indians achieve. Your Indians are thriving.
Our Indians are working.
The Scott brothers built a company that now employs 16 people, putting up power lines. They didn't get any government help.
It made me drive twice as hard, knowing it they wouldn't help us, It panned out pretty good for us. We just always been hard workers.
So that's what that is.
This Lumbee tribe member, Lindsay Locklear, runs one of the biggest True Value hardware stores in the country.
The day after I graduated, the next day I was at work.
The Lumbees are doing well.
Tremendous survivors. A great example of how you can continue to persist under absolutely the worst treatment that you could hope to get.
Because they've divorced themselves from these government handouts.
They
They've
have.
done well.
Individuals have done well.
Exactly. Individuals free of special government protection like Lumbee Jim.
You heard that? Free of special government protection. Special government protection. That shit sound like slavery already.
Thomas, a real estate developer who used to own the Sacramento Kings. Jack Lowry, an original owner of the Cracker Barrel restaurants. Or Sybil Bullard, who owns J.R. Jones Grain.
We had to fend for ourselves. We had to do what we needed to do to survive.
See that? We gotta fend for ourselves. We gotta do what we need to do to survive for our people. You know, come together. Let's put some shit together and do whatever the fuck we gotta do. That's what they did. You know, that's what everybody gotta do for their family, and that's what every tribe has to do for their tribe. You know, that's what every leader has to do for whoever they're leading.
We don't mind getting our hands dirty and getting the job done because we know that if we do, we will be rewarded for that.
What helped the Lumbees, said Ben, was knowing that they had to become entrepreneurs and support themselves.
On the reservations, they haven't trained to be capitalists. They've been trained to be communists. Everything you need someone's approval.
Tribal governments and the Bureau of Indian Affairs manage most Indian.
You hear that? They ain't been trained to be capitalists. They've been trained to be communists. So we got to get out the fucked up mindsets that we in and learn how to, be businessmen and businesswomen so we can help each other.
Land in America. Indians often compete to serve on tribal councils because then they can give out the government's money.
You can help your relatives. You can help your girlfriend. You can help your girlfriend's mama. It's a great program.
Not so great for the majority of Indians. Because the government owns
Look at that shit. That shit look terrible.
most Indian property, individuals rarely build nice homes or businesses.
No individual on the reservation owns the land, so they can't do anything with it. They can't develop it. Let's look at my tribe. We have...
You see that? So he's telling you about how the government owns their land. So because the government owns their land, that's probably why they don't keep up with that shit. They're like, fuck this shit. It's not mine anyway.
title and deeds to our land. That's the secret. I raise cattle, Red Angus cattle.
See that? Having title and deeds to your land. He said that's the secret. So you going for all this federal shit, that's their shit. You go for your own shit, that's yo shit. You and your tribe.
Can do what I want to because it's my private property. My buddy on the White Mountain Apache Reservation, he has a farm, but he can't do the same things I can do. If the tribe decided one day, we want to take your land on the reservation and give it to one of my relatives, they could do that.
Government handouts.
You see that? They could take your land from you while you on a reservation and shit and hand it out to other motherfuckers if they want to do that shit. So that's probably why people don't be keeping up with their shit as well. On top of their government ain't really helping them keep up with it. And that's fucked up because they're supposed to be some type of Indian or something and they're not getting the Indian help that they need and deserve, you feel me?
Don't work well even for the freeloaders. But there are always enablers who say, yes, they will. American Indians own more land than any group in America, and you are still the poorest group. How can that be?
Indian reservations are basically in areas that have been neglected by the United States. The tribes have been located in some...
Not neglected, just left alone, like you guys have, not you guys, but like we demand and we order, you feel me? Leave us the fuck alone. And once we get that shit, that's, you feel me? That's the chiefs of these fucked up corporation tribes don't be keeping up with their land or with their family's land, you feel me? And Look at this shit. This shit looks terrible. You're not supposed to be no leader and have a fucked up place like this, you know? Or let your people have a fucked up place like this. That's not a leader. That's just you being greedy and you distributing money in a wrong manner that you're not supposed to be.
The most isolated areas geographically.
So what? Other isolated groups have done well. How come the Mormons got rich? Where they live, it's just as poor. How come the Amish got wealthy, even rejecting modern tools?
I don't know how wealthy the Amish are, and I don't know how the Mormons got rich.
Maybe because they weren't relying on government rules and Indian trusts and all your lawyering that teaches Indians to be helpless?
Oh my God.
That's real shit. And she finna get offended and shit. That's real shit.
Yes, I don't think that that's true at all. I take umbrage at that, sir.
What you're really saying is Indians are too dumb to manage their own land, so the government has to be, papa and take care of us. We don't need the government giving us handouts.
There is no Bureau of Irish Affairs or Latino Affairs. Why is there a Bureau?
Real shit. There ain't none of that shit. So why the fuck is there a Bureau of Indian Affairs? So they could take your shit and so they could slave you and make you the slave versus, the master.
Bureau of Indian Affairs.
We are a starved people in a rich nation.
Already we've got the empowering tribe.
You guys are thieves. But you see that how these recognized tribes, they don't have the power that they think they have. And, the Lumbee tribe, they got all the fucking power in the world. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. And, well, I don't know. They might be federally recognized now. But, back when they wasn't federally recognized, all their shit was theirs. And shit, it probably still is theirs. But, he was talking about you get the titles to your land and you get complete ownership. I don't exactly know what that's called right now. But, you get the complete ownership to your shit. So you could pass it down to your next coming up. Like me, I got 2 kids. I got 2 little Choctaw babies. So with my land, when it comes to me having to pass my shit that's down there in Oklahoma, that's what I'm gonna do. But you feel me? I'm not even down there in Oklahoma. I'm way on the fucking East Coast and shit. So whatever.
Nations Initiative, the Advancing Nation-to-Nation Relationships, Protecting Indian Country, Tribal Priority Allocations, Indian Land Consolidation Program. All these government programs. Indians are poor.
Indians are poor.
Die young.
And that's why these programs are so important.
But maybe these programs are why Indians are poor.
Well, I don't.
That's real shit. All of these programs is why motherfuckers will not get off their feet, because they see, you feel me, $1 being thrown at their ass. You see $1 being thrown at your ass, what the fuck you gonna do with it? Go get a sack, or go get some motherfucking some alcohol, or some whatever the fuck your soul thrives to do or desires to do.
Think that that's a fair thing to say. In fact, I think that they are the most neglected of any population in the United States.
Government needs to do more.
Yeah.
And every freeloader wants more.
We get welfare checks, we get grant checks, we get food stamps, but if you look at these farmers and ranchers, they get the same thing. That's what these subsidy payments are for.
It is true that subsidies also go to farmers and ranchers and big companies. But just like the gifts given these people, subsidies keep you dependent. The handouts certainly haven't helped America's Indians.
We got all kind of Indian programs in America. The homeless program, the stimulus packet. It's all welfare. It's all a con.
Speaking of...
You hear that shit? It's all a con. All of that shit is. What is it conning you into? It's conning your ass right back into slavery. You feel me? Damn. She got her cartoons all out and shit. I'm done. But yeah, that's basically how, non-federally recognized tribes have all the power. How do they have all the power? Because they have titles to their land. They're not signed to any contracts, and anything they're doing it in their name first. Anything they're setting that shit up on their land, or they're setting it up not on their land, in their Indian name, so they could do what they gotta do. I don't know what the hell going on up there. They're doing too much upstairs. But yeah, man, or peoples, just want to show y'all this. It's another little piece of how Indian tribes is, non-recognized tribes is, they have more power than the federally recognized tribes.